Hi, my name's Jenny. I'm here today to show you my Qube Plus 88 holes greenhouse supplied by Juliana Group in the UK. There she is lurking in the background. I'm going to take you out there to have a closer look in a minute. I'm not sponsored or anything to make this video. I just simply bought this greenhouse. It's the first one I've ever owned, constructed it myself, and I thought that since it's quite a new range, there's not an awful lot online, really if anyone's thinking of purchasing one of these or if anyone's having any difficulty putting one up. I just thought that this video might just help influence or sway someone or potentially help them with ideas for kitting it out and also just for constructing it, basically. So I think I will talk you through some of the little things I found whilst putting it up, just to give you some hints and tips at the end of this video. So let me take you on a tour. Obviously, I'm very excited. This is my very first ever greenhouse that I've ever owned. Definitely the first one I've ever put up. So let me talk you through. Let me show you. Unfortunately, the sun's just gone behind the clouds, which happens 90% of the time here in Northern Ireland, which is one of the reasons why I wanted this greenhouse. I wanted somewhere nice that I can be outdoors when the weather isn't great, and sort of thought this would be a good solution. Plus, my plants grow so slowly. I don't know about anybody else, but Northern Ireland this year has been particularly awful. I've been growing these little tomato plants and cucumbers, and I'm pretty sure they were planted in May. I'm pretty sure they should be a lot taller than that by now, but hopefully now they're in the heat, they will start giving off some growth, and the plan is that they will eventually grow all the way up here, all the way up into the eaves up there. So that's the plan with my growing. I also have some herbs, some tomatoes, what am I saying? Strawberries. These are a bit gimmicky. I don't know. I picked these up from home base. The oranges, goodness knows whether they'll keep growing or not, but we'll see. And then this slightly sad looking little fig tree at the moment. It's been repotted and it's adjusting to the new environment. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I wanted to give you a little tour. I know the Qube 88. There's a Qube 88, which is an 8 foot by 8 foot, which is what this one is. You can get an 816, which is 8 by 16 foot, and you can get an 8 something else. Is it an 812 and an 816? There's 3 different sizes anyway. I'll confirm that in a minute. But mine's the 8 foot by 8 foot square. So what I had to do was construct a base, which I've just made out of 2x4 pressure treated weather resistant wood. I needed to put that base in because the front of the patio is higher up than the back, which is to allow for drainage away from the house. So obviously if I built the greenhouse straight on to the patio, it would be sloping. So I've had to construct this frame that goes all the way around, and the back is the full 4 inches tall. The front has been shaved down to about 2 inches, so it's created me a nice level base to then build my greenhouse onto. This is the base that is supplied. You actually have to pay for it separately, but when hi Pusscat, hello. When I bought the greenhouse, he basically told me, well, you need the base, you can't really have the greenhouse without the base, and the reason being because the door area drops down. So if you didn't have the base, you would not have room for the door. However, I don't know, if I'd have built my frame with maybe some railway sleepers, sort of big, thick, chunky off the ground, I probably could have got away without the base and then just had it lower at the front for the door, if that makes any sense. But anyway, I constructed a base out of wood, and I screwed down the metal base onto the wooden base, which actually really helped me. You can see the screws there. It's far easier to screw down into wood when the base is shaped like this than it would be to screw down into, concrete or pavers or whatever else, because this lip is in the way. for your drill. So getting down that angle, not easy, but thankfully I was able to drive the drill in at an angle straight into the wood, which is easy. And the wood is bolted down into the concrete with masonry, big long masonry screws, so that the base isn't going anywhere. And next thing I did was created this workbench, which was the easiest thing I've ever made in my life. I literally was walking around home base looking for inspiration really, but I found these, you can see it better from here, I think. These are, do you see that Stanley? Got these from home base, 35 quid. It's a set of two Stanley, what would you call them, like saw bench things. You use them when you're, building stuff. You put your wood on and you use it to chop. Anyway, I used those to create this workbench, staging, whatever you want to call it. And this is 2x4 from the local timber suppliers. They can come in 16-foot strips, slightly under 16 foot actually. And since this greenhouse is 8 foot, then I've just bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I just bought 4 of them and got the guys to just cut them in half at 8 foot and stuck them in the back of my car. So brought them home, laid them down onto the legs, these saw bench things, and then used another piece of timber, the same kind of timber, just to batten along, secure them all down. Same in the middle and same up the end. And then I just flipped it over. So I've got another little batten just screwed up in there just to stop this from wobbling left or right. And I cannot budge that. That is not going anywhere. And then the same again, 3 on the bottom, just batten together, and they sit down nicely onto a little shelf that comes with the legs. Those Stanley saw leg things, they're really, really toughened plastic. I don't see myself having any problems with those in the weather or the heat. Hopefully, famous last words, we'll see. So I also found these happen to be perfect size. 2 little sets of shelves, one on the right, one on the left, and they fit exactly behind the sliding doors. Measurements are almost perfect. They were like £19.95 from the range. So they're a nice little, I was quite pleased with that little find. So the windows, I don't know how I feel about these windows because they don't feel very, I mean, if the bolts came out at the bottom, if they got loose somehow from being rattled around, the whole window pane would slide out and away on down the side there and cause whatever damage on the way, I don't know. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on the bolts, nuts and bolts, make sure everything's nice and tight. I did purchase these as extras. These are the wax filled pistons. So when it gets to a certain temperature in here, they automatically open the window. And you can set them to open, at a cooler or a warmer temperature, whatever it is that you would prefer. This little shelf up here, which is made of the same material, is actually a piece of the base that comes with the door. I'll show you in the instructions in a bit. When you put the base together, you actually add that piece across the front here until you get it all screwed down, and that just holds the frame in a perfect square. But once it comes to fitting the greenhouse on top, that then comes off and it's just a waste. It's a piece of waste metal. So I have just simply drilled slightly a hole in a slightly different place there, just using a metal drill bit and a couple of brackets that I just found in the hardware shop, and I've just bolted it up onto the back of the greenhouse, which I think works quite well because it's all matching. Might as well, it's a piece of scrap metal, might as well use it. To bolt, I should have mentioned, just to bolt these, to put those screws down into the base there, you do have to just put a little hole in with a metal drill bit, maybe a 3mm drill bit, just to make the hole first before you try and drive the screws in. The same applies when you're putting there's some preparation work you have to do before you start to put this greenhouse up. And it involves having to drill through the metal. So rather than trying to force the little screws that they give you in, the self-driving screws, do use a power tool and a metal drill bit and just puncture through the metal first. You'll save yourself a lot of heartache. Hi Puss, how are you? And there's the doggo. Hello, do you like the new greenhouse? I think you do. So here is my very, very well thumbed manual for putting up this greenhouse. It's exactly the same whether you have the 8 foot by 8 foot, 8 foot by 12, or 8 by 16. Basically, you just have a few extra panels to put in the middle, depending on how long yours are. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the 8 foot by 8 foot, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the 8, 12, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections in the 8 by 16. So mine was the 88. First thing you need to do is not get overwhelmed by these instructions. Ignore all the ones that aren't in your own language. There's one page here at the start which is in English, and I recommend that you sit down with a cup of tea and read through all of that. It's only one page, because then the next page is another language. Sit and read that page and remember what you've learned. It'll really help you with putting this together. Then you can flick through all the different languages, sticky pages. As you can see, it was very windy on the day I started to put the greenhouse up, so my pages got ruffled a lot, so they're all sticky around the edges. So then you have the overview. This basically tells you the page numbers that you go to for each different part of the construction and a list of what tools you may need. So don't even know what that bit is, didn't use it. Here's a list of everything you should have. Now I found, and you should check to make sure you have everything, especially if it's a rainy day and you can't put your greenhouse up, just check through your box and make sure you have everything. This part here, the 20, 1, 2, 1, 4, there's supposed to be 6 of those. There was only 3 in my box. So that's a little part that you need for putting the door together, and it was missing. So I couldn't finish constructing one of my doors until just yesterday after ringing Juliana Group. They posted it to me first class without any quibbles or problems, and I did manage to get it finished just yesterday. So obviously, sad little person doing it on their own, happy person with a friend. I had a friend help me on the day that I put the frame together, because you need 2 people to lift. You build the back gable with the sides, and then you build the front gable with the sides, and then you have to raise them up and sandwich them together. So you do not want to do that on your own. Make sure you have a friend to help you with that. You might be okay constructing the 2 parts, but you need someone to help you bring them together. So anyway, before you get anywhere close to that, you need a nice square level base. And I'll talk to you through how I did my base. This is the one that is supplied with the greenhouse. And this is the piece I was talking about that I built the shelf with. It goes at the door, and it literally just goes on there until till later on in the process, and then that bit gets removed. So what I've done here, I've scribbled these columns out because it looks all very confusing if you don't know what you're doing. When you first look at this, you just get a bit bamboozled with everything. This column is for the 8 foot by 8 foot. This is for the 8 by 12, and that's for the 8 by 16. So scribble out the ones you don't need. It will stop you getting confused. So it shows you what the part looks like, the part number, the size of the part, and how many of them you are going to need for your particular greenhouse, for this particular part of the construction. These feet, these legs, if you're building onto the ground, soil, they go down into the ground. You can hammer them right down like pegs. If you're building onto concrete or a wooden base like I did, you are going to have to get a grinder and cut those all off flush here. You have to have them because they are what holds the corners together, but you will have to cut them off. So that's my advice for that page. Then you need to sit down indoors before you even think about starting to construct anything, and you have to make up all these little parts. This is called the preparation pages. So there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of preparation. So what you have to do is find all these little parts and then make up these drawings. So that takes a little bit of time. This is where I would thoroughly recommend that screw there has to go in through the metal. You have to puncture through all that metal. So although they are screws designed to drive through metal, you'll be there forever trying to drive that through with an ordinary drill screwdriver. So please puncture a hole with a 2.5 millimeter. In fact, there's the picture. Tells you need a 2.5 to 3 millimeter drill bit to cut through, to make the hole, to make a little piercing, and then screw it on in with the PZ2 screwdriver style. So you need to, this will be, I don't know, a gable end piece up in the roof somewhere. Possibly there's one up the back, one at the front, one in the middle, and a couple of these that go at the bottom to hold the two sides of the frames together. So you need to sit and construct all these before you do anything. Make sure that you keep this little bit flush. Don't have it sticking out too far because it will then press against your glass. So make sure it's nice. Let me see if the picture shows you. Doesn't really. But yeah, just make sure it's nice and flush to the edge. So once you've constructed all your pieces, set them aside, and then you can start to do the rear gable. This is the rear gable. So it's literally a matter of finding the parts that are listed here and then putting them together. The pictures are pretty good. The parts should all be labelled. The poles should all have their names. 31S, 22S, 42S. I don't know why they put an S on the end of everything. Why bother? I don't know what the S stands for, but anyway, you find most of them end with an S. This subasm thing, subasm 7, goes on the corner. That will be one of the things that you've constructed. So these ones that you're putting together, you'll be giving them a name. They'll become a new part name in their own right once you've made them. So when it's telling you it wants a 7, or what? Sorry, a 1. Telling you it wants a 1 there. So you'll find the part that you made and you called it 1. So that's your part that it's looking for there. So pictures are pretty good. You'll be all right there. I would suggest that you don't over tighten the bolts because they will snap. They do snap if you over tighten them too hard. And you'll probably find once you put the frames together, you're going to have to loosen the bolts anyway to get the frame all to sort of sit plumb and level. So there'll be a lot of tightening screws and untightening them. Rear and front, make them up. So once you've made the rear, then you start, so you're doing it lying it on its back on the ground somewhere. Then you start putting these poles up around it. So that's the back that you're building. You do very similar then with the front. That's still the back. This is the front gable now that you're building. Exact same sort of process. Once you've got that all built together, then you come to sandwiching them together. So when you get to this page, it's literally, you can see you're sort of sandwiching them together and bolting them all up. I've put big scores through this page because this page only applies if you've got the 8x12 or the 8x16. I have the 8x8, so you need to make sure you don't get carried away reading pages that are nothing to do with your particular model. So just put a line through any of the pages that don't apply to you. Save yourself some time. Save yourself getting confused. And then door frames. And basically then you're on to doing the glass. So the glass was actually really easy. The thing I would say about the glass, you have to put this sticky stripping up both sides of all of the poles, and then the glass sits onto the sticky stripping, one here, one panel here, and one panel here. There's not enough sticky stripping in the box to do the corners because the corners don't need any. It's hard to explain what I mean. The first corner will, one side does, where the glass, so the glass is going to sit against one side, so you put sticky stripping here, but the second bit will be where your plastic covering will snap on. So don't use the sticky stripping on the bits that the plastic covering is going to touch. Otherwise you'll run out and you'll have to phone them and ask for more. I hope that makes sense. If I'm not making any sense, just stick a question in down below and I'll try and answer it for you. Then you go on to construct the doors and the windows. I circled that because this is the part that was missing for me. 3 of those. I had 3 in the box, but you need 6. You need 1 for each door. So make sure you've got both of those in case they've made the same mistake with every box. Yeah, doors and windows. And then you're really on to fixtures and fittings, trimmings, bits and pieces that go around the gutter, your little caps to cover up your bolts, trimmings along the top. You can silicone them on. I haven't yet, but I probably will at some point. And I did silicone all the way around the bottom of my base just to stop the water running down the patio straight under into the greenhouse. So that's a fly through the instructions. No idea if that's been helpful or not, but if it has, please give me a thumbs up and ask me any questions down below. Thanks for watching. If you've got all the way to the end of the video, amazing. Thank you and good luck with your greenhouse. So that concludes my very first greenhouse video. If you enjoyed it and you would like to see more of what I get up to inside my greenhouse, what I'm growing, how I'm growing it, maybe you might want to give me some hints and tips because this is my first greenhouse and I'm definitely not an expert. Perhaps you'd consider subscribing and letting me know what you would like to see. Also, let me know what you think I should grow, and I'll maybe do another video sometime. Thank you very much for watching.